Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm back today with a end of year channel review for the year 2023. Everything I've done, sort of working on this year, it's been a really weird, different year for me, and I'm excited to just break that down as well as cover some of the stuff I want to do next in 2024. So again, I want to talk about some of the adventures I've been through as a web and game developer, starting a new business and doing some like a lot of other little projects on the side. I've worked on a lot of videos this year. I think I've created like 120 videos total. Some of those are here on YouTube. Most of them are on my dedicated website. So I'm excited to break all those things down. I also want to share what I've been doing in the very, very recent past because a lot of that stuff's not out yet. And again, also give a sneak peek to what I want to do next year. Now, heads up, as we go here, I'm going to be talking about a lot of videos that I made here on YouTube. And so I'll do the little card thing where you see a card appear on screen. You're welcome to bounce and check those out now. Or if you want to wait and watch this video to the end, I'll have all that stuff in the description for like in one nice clean place. I'm also going to try to do this video kind of fast and like one casual take. I have very limited time to record, and I'll tell you exactly why as we go. So if I rewind 1 year ago right now, it's like Christmas time 2022. I'm working full-time as a software engineer at a healthcare startup here in the US. In short, late last year, 2022, and early this year, 2023, was really hard in tech. A lot of people across the board getting laid off. The economy was really tough. And, just like a lot of other people, I get the news in around Christmas time 2022 that I'm going to lose my job. It was a great gig, and I'm really grateful for it while it lasted, but basically my entire team got cut or super downsized, and I had to figure out what to do next. Instead of just jumping right back into the job market, I had all these prototypes of games and video series that I wanted to do, but I just didn't have time to do them with the full-time employment that I had going on. So instead of just jumping right back in, I decided to take as much time as I could to just do that. On the side, I had been working on a dedicated video tutorial series website. I'll talk more about that as we go. I finally had time to launch that and get that live. I also had a lot of time to record more videos for YouTube, which if you scroll back on my channel, you'll see that there's nothing for a long time. And then all of a sudden in April, which is when I got laid off, suddenly videos start to appear. And that's exactly when I had more time to get this going again. So again, I'm grateful. I got the news pretty early that I'd be losing my job in April. So from January to April, while my job was wrapping up, I was able to kind of go hard on creating my first dedicated tutorial series for the new website, and that was called Ciabatta's Revenge. Ciabatta's Revenge is this puzzle game inspired by this game I used to play as a kid called Chip's Challenge. It was a really simple grid-based puzzle game, and I thought that could be kind of interesting and easy to pull off in a DOM. Certain CSS tricks could be used to pull off that kind of layout. React is a great solution for managing complicated state. And, I have experience building games with React, so I was thinking, hey, that'd be a cool project to work on. It was supposed to be very simple, only take maybe a couple weeks or so, but I ended up spending months on it. I just kind of kept going and adding more detail, like music and animations and sound effects. Eventually, my friend Glenn helped me work on it. He's the same person that helped me build Danger Crew back in the day, which was also built in React. We put a full version of the game on itch, and I'll link that below as well if you want to check it out. And then I recorded this whole series, line by line of code, how to build this exact game. And that was my first tutorial series on the website. It was a lot of fun to work on. It was a lot of fun to build games in React again. That's something I had gotten out of a little bit. Of course, during this time, I was also working on the website itself. I had considered doing the Gumroad or some kind of dedicated platform for just putting videos out on. I needed some place to sell these because, I needed some cash flow from not having a job. Instead, I decided to build my own platform, and I'm really glad I did because it allows me to have a lot of flexibility and kind of inject my own personality into the whole experience. So basically, my January through April to May or so was just working on those two things. And just in case you're curious, the website itself is built in SvelteKit. I had shot around a couple different options for the tech stack of the website. I ended up with SvelteKit, a database solution called Supabase on the back end. The whole thing is hosted on Vercel, which has been really nice and easy. And then all the payments are handled securely through Stripe. Anyway, so after all those web-based projects had been going on in the springtime, it's like May or so, and I wanted to get back into working with Godot. For context, at that time, Godot had just rolled out version 4.0, which is a huge jump and a big upgrade from 3.0, both in just what the language could do and a lot of performance improvements and capabilities of GDScript, the language that comes with Godot. If you've been with me for a while, you'll remember I did a lot of Godot 3.0 videos back in the day, but I hadn't really been up to date on the latest work there. So I decided to rebuild my Pizza Legends RPG using Godot 4.0. And I was able to make a whole tutorial video series around this as well. This came together pretty quickly for me because I already had all the assets done. I did take some time to review some things and go a little bit harder on the Pokemon homage, the Pokemon spirit animal in Pizza Legends. I made a whole video about that journey as well. And that video for YouTube was me trying a different style. To this point, most of my YouTube videos have been just straight up coding, and I was trying to explore a different style to like change it up on the channel and maybe do some more like process driven videos. And that was one of my early stabs at that. You could definitely tell it's a different vibe for me and something I was still experimenting with, but I'm glad I gave it a shot. One thing that's funny is that Godot video initially didn't have a lot of interest because like most of people that have been watching my videos are interested in the JavaScript game development stuff. A couple people for Godot for sure, but mostly JavaScript. Later on in the year is when all that Unity drama happened. And, Godot gets this huge rush of people checking it out. And it's awesome to see, as a longtime Godot fan, it's great to finally see like all that traction that they're getting. And Godot is just so much fun and great to use. So after that, like a lot of traffic picked up for the Godot series, which is really cool. So anyway, if you're interested in the top-down retro style RPG, but built with Godot 4, the video and the series is worth checking out. So at this point, it's early summertime, and two close game dev friends of mine, Matt Jennings, Chris Kelly, are raving about this new TypeScript-based game engine that they found. It's called Excalibur JS. When you reach for something like JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever to make a game, you don't get a lot out of the box. Besides what the browser can do on its own, you're definitely bringing all of your own abstractions, like whether you choose a object-oriented game object approach or a more functional approach. Those are on you to decide, and so having a strong library that provides opinions can be really helpful. There are, of course, libraries like Phaser out there and a couple other ones, but none of them had really clicked for me at the time. I'm not sure why, because there's nothing bad about them. They just didn't really work for me. But when Matt and Chris suggested I check out Excalibur, I did, and I immediately fell in love with it. It's amazing. In short, if you're coming from an engine like a Unity or a Godot, and you're used to concepts like game objects or scenes, Excalibur follows that very same pattern, but in its own way. It's all written in TypeScript, and it comes with a great physics engine and great graphics capabilities. It's really performant, it's really flexible. I had a lot of fun building some Mega Man and Zelda-based prototypes with it. Even became good buddies with Eric Onerheim, the main author of the library, and he's amazing. In the JavaScript game development space, Excalibur is something to definitely have your eye on. Anyway, so using some of the nice things that Excalibur provides for you, like a physics library, I was able to make some prototypes of more like action-based games. I made a Mega Man prototype, and I made a video about that experience. I was also playing a lot of Game Boy Color Zelda at the time, and so I made a Zelda prototype. At some point, I had this idea for multiplayer Zelda, which of course has been done before. I was thinking that kind of format in a browser would be really cool and convenient to use. So I learned how to use Peer.js and set up a node server to basically connect the clients. I made this PvE prototype where you could see different links and characters walking around, and made a video about that process as well. That also fueled a new series on my website, which is called Action Multiplayer. Basically, it's from start to finish. How do you build a Zelda-style game, for one thing, but then how do you layer multiplayer into that with the peer-to-peer connections? Right around that time of year as well was the GMTK Game Jam. So Matt Jennings and I teamed up, and we made this game called Bad Ref. Glenn LeBar helped us out with that as well. It's a game where you play as a corrupt soccer referee, and you try to mess with the game, mess with the players in the game to get the outcome that you want. We reached for Excalibur for that, and we're able to build it in one weekend. That game jam gives you 48 hours, so 2 days to build a whole game, and Excalibur was a great companion for that. So again, a lot of my summertime using Excalibur, kind of helping spread the word about it. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's totally worth checking out, especially if you're coming from a game engine like Unity or Godot, but you want to stay like really web-focused and web-based. Can't recommend it enough. So by this point in the year, I had worked my way up to having maybe 3 or 4 really long video tutorial series on my course website. And to that point, it was just called courses.drewconley.dev, which is very associated to me as a subdomain on my website. I really wanted to launch more of a proper brand around it, just so like in the future, I could maybe have other creators make courses for it that weren't just me. I wouldn't have to be a bottleneck. I could also be a little bit more explicit about this is a home for, people that are learning how to make video games. And so I rebranded it to co-op mode. And so far that's been working out great. It's still maybe subject to change in the future, but co-op mode, the spirit of that is kind of like, you and me working on something together, like co-op mode in a video game. Let's take a game idea and build a prototype out of it. We'll walk through every single line of code together. It's be like this collaborative kind of thing. There's a private Discord for it. There are also dedicated game assets for it. So if you sign up for the service, I'll give you a bunch of sprites to use in your projects that go beyond just what I show in the videos. And I spent probably at least a month kind of solidifying the brand around it. While that rebrand was in progress, I was also picking away at the next series, which would end up to become Canvas RPG Kit. And I even ended up putting like most of that series here on YouTube, or at least the first half of it or so. From all that time using Excalibur, I got really inspired by just like what it takes to make a game engine. You know, it's rare that you need to actually reinvent the wheel and make an engine dedicated for your game, but just by learning to use an engine, you kind of gain this new appreciation of like all the moving pieces. And so in that series, I try to say, hey, let's build a really lightweight canvas-based JavaScript game engine that can power like a top-down RPG game, kind of like Pizza Legends, but we're going to go heavier on the canvas side. Instead of it being an opinionated game prototype, it's more of a toolkit. Like you could use this to make any kind of top-down game. Again, even if you're not rolling your own engine for your own game, just kind of working through the process of building up an engine or a lightweight sort of engine from scratch can really make you appreciate everything that goes into using an engine. You also have total control over how everything works. So if there's some quirk in an engine that you don't like, well, maybe rolling your own, you can kind of have your opinions injected in that way. That series took me a long time because I was iterating on it a lot. At first, it started as a total TypeScript-based thing. At one point, it was a roguelike style game where the maps were randomly generated and we cover all of those kinds of aspects. It took me a while to figure out what it should be, but that's what I spent most of my early fall on. And I'm really proud of how it turned out. That series is fully rolled out now to the site. So if you liked the first half on YouTube here, be sure to check that out. Now, while all of that stuff was going on, there's one other giant thing that happened to me and my wife in early 2023, and that's that we learned we were expecting a baby. Baby Conley was due in November. This layoff happened. I took the time to, do my own thing, make all this content, really enjoyed the game development space for as long as I could. Eventually, I started feeling some internal pressure, like, hey, maybe I need to find a job again so I can provide for my new baby in a little more of a stable way. So at that time, I had decided to take some interviews with tech companies. The job market this year has sucked. It's super hard. It's very competitive. Companies ask a lot. Very few companies get back to you. I ended up going through the whole process with 4 major tech companies. Some of them are the big FANG companies. One was not a FANG company, but in that kind of realm. I went through all of their interview processes and got a couple offers and a couple rejections. And I learned a ton by going through all of that. It had been many years since I had to go through a tech interview. And so it kind of was a good refresher on all of the concepts that you just have to have at your fingertips. Things like raw DOM skills, recursion, algorithms, traversing trees, that kind of thing. These are certainly things that come up during everyday development, but in the interview setting, it's a little bit more intense. And it definitely requires practice and thinking that way to make it through these technical interview challenges. Interviewing is exhausting, especially these days, where the process with those 4 companies took a couple months from start to completion because each one wanted 6 different interview sessions and the whole thing just dragged on for a long time. So when it was all over, I decided to compile everything that I experienced during that month of interviewing and make a new video series out of it. I called it Front-End Interviewing Bootcamp to really extract all of the front-end specific stuff and give people a nice resource of some of the challenges that I encountered, all of the different technical skills needed, also a lot of behavioral skills needed. Behavioral interviews are a big part of the process when you're interviewing for a new job. There's a good bit of homework you can do to really do well in those sessions. So I compiled all of those into this video series. I thought it was maybe too off-brand for me to put on YouTube. If you do want to see it or you really want to see it on YouTube here, just let me know. And, I'm still considering putting it out here, but it's on co-op mode right now. The goal of that series was really to just help people, if you're about to do some front-end interviewing, to prepare as best you can. I give a lot of interview challenges that I saw. I've changed them, of course, to make them company agnostic and all that stuff, and really boil down to the basics. If you have these skills under your fingertips, you're going to do great in the interviews. As far as those 4 companies, I did not end up taking any of the jobs, even though I did get some offers. Instead, I have a different opportunity hopefully lined up for me in 2024 that I'm holding out for. And so I'm going to, hopefully have more news about that soon. But for the time being, I decided to just focus the rest of the year on our new baby that was on the way. So speaking of which, November 2023, our baby is born, and ever since, I've just been full-time dadding. We're totally in love with our little boy that was born, and he's been great and awesome. It's been the most powerful experience of my entire life. And of course, as you could imagine, I don't have any time really right now for development or certainly for making videos. This video, in fact, is an experiment. It's why the format's pretty casual, but I've got little pockets of time to piece it together. If you're a parent, by the way, and you have any hot tips on, managing work-life balance with a newborn, I definitely want to hear it. So let me know in the comments below. Again, for now, I'm not putting any pressure on myself to produce much. I'm just focusing on my family, and it's been awesome. Now that said, before our baby was born, I did do a lot of prep work for one final tutorial series of the year. It's a Next.js app where we build a level editor for Canvas RPG Kit. It's basically an agnostic JSON editor that you can use to pipe data into your game so that you don't have to like manually code out levels and that kind of thing by hand. We talk about how to make a nice user interface for yourself so that if you're working on a game and you want to quickly come up with levels, you can use your own tool to do that. Imagine something like a Tiled, the program, but really specifically catered to your game. That series is about to start rolling out on co-op mode. By the time this is uploaded, there should be a couple episodes out already, and I'll be rolling those out for the rest of the year. So next year, I plan to actually shift my focus back to making full production games, like things that I'll put on Steam. My goal with this channel is really to help people that are getting into game development to get started. And if you're in the thick of a long project, I want to help you sustain so you actually finish and ship your game. I'm trying to do that through coding tutorials, but also experience sharing. And this year, it's been all about coding tutorials. Almost everything I've done has been screen sharing, like here's the code, step by step, here's how I did it, here's how you can kind of do it too. Next year, I want to shift more towards here's a giant project that I'm doing. I want to crack open the hood and just show you everything that's going on in here. So it's less of a step-by-step tutorial and more of like a thought-provoking experience share so that if you're working on something similar, maybe some of the lessons I've learned can help you sustain your game and you'll get some value out of whatever I can share. So just in case we don't talk again, I want to wish you a happy holiday season and a great new year. Be sure to join our Discord server where I'm still hanging out in there every chance I can, talking about projects. People are working on amazing things in there. And so if you have a game dev project in the works and maybe you're new to the channel or new to the Discord server, be sure to pop in there. Tell us about what you're working on. You can collaborate with other game developers, maybe get some help if you want it, or just bounce ideas off people. Thanks a bunch for watching. I'll catch you next time, I guess next year.